Wisconsin is as good as it gets if you are like me and you love the college sports.
This is the Jump Around with Jim Rutledge and Pablo Iglesias, streaming live on the ESPN Madison YouTube channel.
Dancing down the sidelines. Can they catch him? No! The Badgers answer instantly. There will be no undefeated champion on Wisconsin with an unbelievable stretch drive to the championship game. Gordon again! Inside the 5, touchdown! What a performance by Melvin Gordon!
Chucky Hepburn, Big Ten on the line. Yes!
Legacy cemented. The 2021 Badgers will go down in history as the first ever at Wisconsin to win a national championship.
That is the best college sports town in America.
Welcome into the Jump Around. I'm Jim Rutledge alongside Pablo Iglesias. I'm back from being up at Mirror Lake along with different parts.
He's back
in Wisconsin, and we got a jam-packed show for you today, and we're excited that scheduled to appear.
Hashtag scheduled to appear.
Ben Brust and John Tanjay. So that is a basketball-filled show. So, of course, Pablo, we are going to start the Jump Around, a Badgers-dedicated show that you can watch every single Thursday at 12:30 on ESPN Madison's YouTube stream. You can stream it back with the ESPN Wisconsin app as well. And we're going to start with football.
Yep.
Yeah, of course.
Just natural.
Look, we're football crazy here, and this really got, I think, Riley Yauk, who's behind the glass in the Everlight Solar Studio, really got his gourd going with The Athletic recently ranked the top 100 rivalries in college football. And 2 of Wisconsin's cracked the top 25. Number 22 was Wisconsin versus Iowa. And number 10, Wisconsin versus Minnesota. Now, we are going to ask the poll question, or we have asked it already, which rivalry means more to you? Minnesota versus Wisconsin or Wisconsin versus Iowa? For me, this is easy. It is the Gophers. The series is tied at 63, and 8 for the Minnesota series. The Badgers won, I swear, it was like 18 in a row at one point. And it is all about perspective because, Pablo, we were talking ahead of time. You said that now for you, it seems like the Badgers don't ever win this series when I think I believe it was either 17 or 18. There was a point where, like, if you were born, you could go all the way through your high school career and have never lost to Minnesota. And the recruiting aspects of it have been intense over the years. And
well, what annoys me the most whenever we come into this week for Axe Week is I love the hype behind it and why I'll defend my case for Iowa later, but more of just the experiences that I've had and what I've heard from the senior classes. I've only seen one win from the Axe game, and I wasn't even in those locker rooms when they won that one year. The senior class always comes in saying, you don't want to be the class that loses the Axe. You don't want to be known as the class that loses the Axe. I've seen 3 Axe losses, and they suck. It's terrible. I don't know what to expect anymore. And as much as a big rivalry it is, I just feel like I'm leaving with the same flat feeling every single time.
And I get what you're saying there, but again, that's more the recency bias of it. To me, it goes a lot to like the 100%. Chicago Bears versus the Green Bay Packers. This is a historic rivalry. It has had 2 different trophies. They initially played for a slab of bacon. It went missing at Wisconsin for a while, then they found it. It was replaced with Paul Bunyan's axe. I do prefer the axe over the bacon, but the bacon, I think, the fact that it had 2 trophies.
Bring home the bacon.
Yeah, the fact that it had 2 trophies was definitely adds to the lore with this. Paul Bunyan's axe is a little bit more fun. You can do the cutting down and everything. But also, PJ Fleck sucks. Like, he's he's the perfect villain. You know who's not a great villain? Kirk Ferentz. Like, what don't I like about him?
I wouldn't say that I vilify Iowa. If anything, it's if I'm picking between one of the 2 games, it's like I'm more amped for Iowa week for some reason. And it's like, yeah, you do have Wisconsin, Minnesota. It's rivalry week across the Big Ten. Also, quick side quest question. How many trophy games are too many trophy games? I feel like it's like once you hit like mid-October, Then it's like trophy game after trophy game for
Well,
Wisconsin and all the Big Ten schools.
I think trophy games can't be manufactured. So like the Nebraska one, I like that. To me, I forget what they play for, but it just feels
The Freedom Trophy.
The Freedom Trophy, yep.
It just feels made up. What about Wisconsin versus Nebraska has to do with freedom?
Freedom!
It's Memorial Stadium, Camp Randall Stadium. They were both used as military camps, I believe, at times.
It's a stretch, but I just don't
Freedom! Follow me to freedom.
Because that's the thing. I think the appeal of the trophy is the legacy of the trophy. So, like, just adding in a trophy game all of a sudden for new rivalries, then, you know what? It's just it's part of the past. So, for me, as long as they are, I guess, I don't know, 1970, 1980, like older than that, you leave them in. Mm-hmm. Adding trophies, like, I think, didn't Wisconsin versus Marquette try to create like a trophy for basketball? I feel like it was
probably
some sort of milk crate thing. I don't know. It was something.
What's the ESPN Madison Trophy? Can we put that out there?
Well, we need a rival.
Who's our rival?
ESPN Milwaukee?
Yeah.
ESPN Beaver Dam?
Same thing.
Well, I'm filling in on Beaver Dam. I filled in on Beaver Dam throughout this entire week.
You're dead to me. You're dead to me.
I've entered the portal.
Yeah, so I have Minnesota in this. You have you're going to Iowa then?
Yeah, I'm trying to remove the recency bias. I do want the Badgers to stop. I have adopted that I want the Badgers to stomp over Minnesota every single time, especially because of the cheesiness of PJ Fleck and row the boat. It annoys the hell out of me. It just feels like that. It's like you brought the same thing over. What was he at Central Michigan, or was he Western?
Western Michigan.
Western Michigan, directional Michigan. So he came over and adopted this, row the boat. And it's just like, even when they beat, I think it was North Carolina in the week 0 or the week 1 game, that was a Thursday night, and it was like a 14-13. The game was terrible. And PJ Fleck's talking about the game-winning touchdown that secured the game for Minnesota. He's like, I'm going to hang this up in my office. This is going to be a special one. It's like, okay, great. A week 1 win versus like a very mid ACC team. Like, congratulations.
Yeah.
It's like, it just goes, it's not even the Wisconsin-Minnesota rivalry at that point. It's just the cheesiness of it that just gets under my skin. And that's what burns even more, is that Wisconsin just cannot pull it out against Minnesota over the last 4 tries, or 1 out of 3 is my record of being around for the Axe game. And that sucks. It's terrible.
That sounder means we move on to the next thing here. We're going to talk a little bit about Badger football, and kind of a 2-part question here as who's going to be the leading rusher for the Wisconsin Badgers, and is this going to believe, I think the number is 2,045 as far as is that the right number?
2,095.
2,095. That's the most amount of yards for the team under Luke Fickell 2 seasons prior with Phil Longo as their offensive coordinator. So 2 questions here. Pablo, I'll let you answer, and I'll answer after this. But will the Badgers pass the 2,095 number? And what running back will lead the team in rushing?
As big of a guy that I've been on Darian Dupree, I actually believe that Dylan Jones, I think it's going to be close. I think Dylan Jones will probably be more of the rushing leader, but I do feel like that Darian Dupree is probably going to be used more as like a hybrid of he'll get a lot of touches, he'll get a lot of carries, but I think if anything, he's also like that pass catching running back too. So if I were to go with it, I think Dylan Jones is going to be that guy to lead the room, but by a hair.
I think Dylan Jones will lead as well. I think a while ago when I made that, pat myself on the back, I don't know if it was here or on Jim Matt and Molly where I thought Dylan Jones would be the guy. And I just think, one, Dupree, how much better was he than Ches Malusi, even when Ches was quote-unquote hurt or not performing? Now, I don't disagree with the idea of playing Darian Dupree because he's a freshman. You get the guys out there. You let them get some reps. And I think Dupree I want to pat him on the back here, as an overall backfield mate with Dylan Jones would be great. A situational player, catch the ball out of the backfield, can be a counter to Dylan Jones. But I think Dylan Jones, who I think we kind of forget about because Dupree got the playing time early, but he got the playing time because he was more versatile. I think Dylan Jones is going to be that lead back, and I think Dupree is going to have a nice season. I think rushing yards, Jones will have a nice little gap between Dupree, but total yards, those numbers could be pretty close. And I think they're both going to be very effective and good players. But the other part of the question here is, do you? I have the Badgers because I think they're going to be. Again, wins and losses is hard. I don't want to do wins and losses today, but I think they're going to be a better football team next year, which means getting back to Badger football. Jeff Grimes did it at Kansas. He did it at Baylor as far as running the football. He did it at BYU passing the football. But when I think at a bare minimum, I honestly think like 2,500 yards could be, because you have Cade Yakameli in here who is fully capable of putting up a lot of yards too. So as long as the O-line and the running game holds, it's not going to be Paul Chryst at the end sort of offense. I think it could be Paul Chryst with Brett Bielema as the head coach sort of heyday of the Badgers, where they ran it a lot, but they threw it effectively too. And I think that's what we're going to see a lot of. I think you're going to see over 2,500 yards rushing for the Wisconsin Badgers this year.
I almost see Dylan Jones and Cade Yakameli almost being like two guys that have the same-ish type of skill set. They're both hard runners. They're both more of the hard-nosed guys. And Darian Dupree, again, he is a great runner. He's fast. He can also run hard too, but I think I see him more as that slippery, like, the screen passes. I know Badger fans right now too, especially with how Phil Longo and the air raid offense.
Yep.
We probably have some horrible nightmares from the screen passes, but I think if used effectively, Darian Dupree is like definitely the guy, the better running back suited for that. But that's where I believe, like, again, just Dylan Jones is going to be the guy that probably leads the room just based off how hard-nosed of a runner he is. But I'm not doubting Darian Dupree, and I'm not saying he's going to be far off either. That kid's slippery.
Yeah, and I think Dupree can run routes too, not just the screen passes. And Yakameli, he had I would say the most
hands, man.
But
He's
also,
got hands.
He had the biggest true run of the season. Dylan Jones, I think, maybe ended up with the longest run of the season last year, but it was in garbage time that he passed Cade Yakameli. Cade Yakameli had a couple big runs, so he can be a home run hitter too. So I think we're going to see three backs. I don't know. I'm not going to say we're not going to see one over 1,000, but I could see 2,500 yards total on the ground between those three backs, and none of them have 1,000. Maybe one gets there, but I could see three guys with the high, 800-900 yards.
I really want this to finally be the year. It's been preached year in, year out, and obviously you can't control injuries, but I just go back to the first season that I covered Wisconsin with 2021 of the three-headed monster, and you thought it was going to be Jalen Berger, Isaac Arendo, and Ches Malusi. That was going to be sick. Unfortunately, injuries and some other things just kind of affected that, but I think Riley Yauk, our producer back over here behind the glass, we were talking about it at Squat Fest of that, the feeling of, is this the three-headed monster? Is this the chance for Wisconsin to truly have that three-headed monster running back room again?
I think it is. I really do believe, and Riley, you can hop in here as well. I think you're going to see, it's not going to be obviously Ball and White and Melvin, but I think you can see three effective backs that no matter who is back there, you're going to see some explosive plays. And I think the hardest part for Grimes is just making sure you're not keying off what you're doing by who's in there.
Yeah, and I gave Yakameli a lot of props last week when I was helping Pablo host the show for the first time, which was just fun. But I think one of the overlooked parts of this, outside of Cade Yakameli, who I also think is being a little overlooked, Billy Edwards. He can run. Yep. He's not going to do the read option probably all that much, but similar to how Longo tried to use Tanner Mordecai a couple years ago, he's got some legs. I think he is also going to contribute a heftier than expected amount to this Badgers running game, and I think they blow 2,095 out of the water.
I'm with you. I got 2,500, so I'd be blowing it out of the water.
Yeah,
by beating it by nearly 500 yards. So.
Well, it's always been the problem, too, for the running backs over the years. Again, they've had options, but really it's just kind of like one guy has ended up running away. I mean, outside of, Braylon Allen, of course, who's in the league, but then last year it just eventually looked like it became Tawi Walker, of course, Ches Malusi with his injury and stepping away from the team, but it just... You come in and you expect multiple contributors, and then you just end up kind of riding with the hot hand. I don't know. I know that Luke Fickell has preached more of that, but I'd say why not? Why not distribute the wealth here too? It's it's not saying that you don't want to run with the hot hand, but you don't want guys to consistently have 30 carries a week or something like that. I don't know. Am I wrong on that idea? What do you guys feel?
I don't disagree with you. Just a quick note here: Billy Edwards Jr. at 136 yards rushing last year, or 150 yards rushing last year. So.
In college football, though, don't they take sacks into account?
That's why
that decreases.
Yeah, that's why I did not. That, when you were saying it, I was like, I don't
try it out in a few days.
The idea of putting out the quarterback is someone who will get the yards just because I was worried about the sacks. So,
Yes.
But again, 150 yards does matter. And I'm not saying he can't run. And maybe he'll do a little bit more.
I could see him getting, if you even taking the sacks into the equation, I think he could run for 300 yards this year just on scrambles.
I think it's doable.
Braden Locke, I think, had over 100 yards rushing last year.
Tanner Mordecai would have been fun because his SMU highlights, too. I don't want to get too much into the nostalgia train and the what ifs, but man, his highlight tape with just the runs that he busted out at SMU, man, he had some legs, too.
Before we transition to talking about the passing game here, I want to shout out to Tanner Mordecai because if you remember, he couldn't take the ball center snaps when he came back because his hand was still messed up. He couldn't clap to get the ball to him.
Oh yeah, that's.
I mean, that's how that's how
Ooh.
taped up and bruised up he was. He still went out and played. So a shout out to Tanner Mordecai before we move on to the passing game.
And he had a hell of a game against LSU in that ReliaQuest Bowl too. I love Tanner Mordecai.
Yeah,
he balled out.
All right, last bit here before we get to the Twitter portal, and the question we have here is basically two-parter again. Who's going to lead the Badgers in receiving yards, and will the Badgers, and specifically I would imagine if this is going to happen, Billy Edwards Jr. getting over 2,861 yards passing? I'm going to imagine that's going to be Billy Edwards Jr. doing that. Well, I will tell you this, just for Pablo, I'll let you answer first again here. If you were curious, last season he threw for 2,881 yards himself. So alone, he surpassed what the Badgers did in passing yards. So
where did Maryland even rank offensively? Total offense, too.
That I don't have in front of me. You're asking a lot from me right now. No, and
Come on.
So I mean, he does need to improve his touchdown to interception ratio, but a good completion percentage, 65% too. So he is a guy that is capable of moving the ball through the air. 2,861 yards passing. I'll let you. I said I'll let you go first. I'll let you go first.
Let's see. I think it's going to happen, and I just looked this up too. The total offensive stats for Maryland. Maryland, I think, was top 7. Maryland was 7th, and Wisconsin, I believe, based off this, was either 10th or 11th in total offense. I feel like that this is going to be a good year for for Billy. But looking at this, I think he's got a lot of good weapons. Vinny Anthony, too, a guy that we've been talking a lot about on the jump around that feels like that there's good chemistry there. He even talked about on Wilde and Tausch that he just feels like that, one, he wanted to stick around, wanted to see how it played out. He loves the chemistry that Billy brings. Billy's also just about accountability. He's saying the right things, that's for sure. But I feel like that there is a good vibe here. Obviously, we just got to keep our fingers crossed. What could have been with Tyler Van Dyke? What could have been with Tanner Mordecai? The injury bug sucked. Don't get me wrong. But I think we have to keep our fingers crossed, and I think this is a good opportunity to have that. If Billy Edwards surpassed what the Badgers had total passing yards with 2 quarterbacks last year, maybe potentially 3, because I think maybe Matoyer even got in a few times. Why not? Why can't Billy do it just on his own?
Yeah, I'm with you on that. That number's not that high when you account for the amount of games. And again, I'm optimistic. I think they play in a bowl game, which gets them an extra game too.
That's good.
So I think the Badgers will be over 2,500 yards rushing, and I don't know if they'll quite have a 3,000-yard passer, but obviously you're going to be right on that line if you're getting over the 2,861.
I mean, the question is, do you really want a 3,000-yard passer? Because it's like, yes, it'd be great, it'd be flashy, it'd be fun if you see like a 3,000-yard Wisconsin passer. And I mean, off the top of my head, I'm just asking for riffing off stats, but we'll see like what Russell Wilson did when he was here. But that's also Russell Wilson. But I think you want more of that balanced attack. Yes, you want Billy Edwards to be a difference maker. You want him to come in and just sling the pill. But also you want to get back to old Wisconsin football too and run that rock. So I think it would be cool if you saw Wisconsin with a 3,000-yard passer. But I don't know.
Russell Wilson did throw for over 3,000 yards, 3,175.
All right, for those of you keeping score at home.
So I don't think he would have surpassed 3,000 if they didn't play in that Rose Bowl.
And so
Rose Bowl confirmed. All right.
Yeah. No, but 13 doesn't matter what bowl game. 13 games is 230 yards a game to get to 3,000.
230? That's it? Well,
3,000 divided by 13?
Yeah.
So 231, I guess, for rounding up there. So I don't know if that moves the meter for you.
Granted, actually, I didn't think about this either. Russell Wilson also had the Big Ten championship game, so that team had 2 extra games for Russell Wilson to sling the pill.
So Billy Edwards will have the Big Ten championship and then college football playoff, and then that's it.
Yeah, actually, when you take into the playoff into consideration.
But wait, how many games? I'm curious because the Badgers played 12 games last year because they were 5-7.
Mm-hmm.
And so if they went to a bowl game, it'd be 13. I'm not sure what the Badgers played back when Russell played. I feel like that's a higher number by a game in there somewhere in that the Badgers maybe play a little bit more regular season. I don't know.
Maybe
13. I don't know how Russell didn't have a larger number for 14 games or whatever. Because if you're doing the Big Ten championship game and a bowl game, that would put him at 14 games.
Well, that's also still why he's one of the best.
But that's that's still not that great. That's like 220 per game passing.
Well, he was also probably what's his all-purpose? What's his all-purpose?
Well, forget the all-purpose. That team, I guarantee the rushing yards were probably well over 3,000.
Yeah.
So that's probably the bigger effect of it.
Yeah, he only averaged 226 yards a game.
Yeah, I think
nothing crazy.
I think the deciding factor with that one would be that the rushing. I would imagine if we pull those rushing yards, they're well over 3,000.
I mean, would you guys be concerned? And I say like this number's through the roof. Like, would you be concerned if the rushing attack like had accumulated more yards in the passing game? How would you guys feel about that?
I'm fine with it as long as it's pushing 3,000 yards rushing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's in the 3,000, I'm not saying like it's sub 2,000, then we got a bigger problem.
But
there.
if you're rushing for 2,500, and the only reason I came up with 3,000 was this: if they threw for 2,861 yards last year, then like that was an inept and impotent offense. So like, I'm sorry, just a few longer drives. I think that also worked against Russell, too. That defense was so good. I think there was a lot of cut-off fields there as well because, it's just it's shocking at those numbers. So, but I do think that Billy Edwards will at least be close. I'm going to still go over with the over 2,861. I do want to ask this question here. Luke Fickell has not had a 2-year starter at quarterback, and I don't know if that's going to happen if that player's on the roster now. Part of it's because of the transfer portal. But ideally, in a perfect world, Danny O'Neal or Carter Smith or both show enough that the Badgers don't need to get a transfer portal quarterback who's going to come in and be the unquestioned starter.
I mean, it's already tough enough, like as you pointed out, just the transfer portal. You look at Will Howard. He came in and it was a 1 year, well, not 1 year wonder for Ohio State, but came in from somewhere else and had a year and then comes in and wins a national championship. I mean, it's hard to say that you can't really make this an indictment on Luke Fickell, if you ask me, on this one of like
it's not. I'm just more asking if he's on the quarterback. It's more talk about these two QBs than an indictment on Fickell.
Sure. I just don't know too much about the tape, to be honest. I need to see more of Danny O'Neal. I know that he came in with like good praise, but I haven't seen. We've just known from the start that Luke Fickell and company, understandably, rightfully so, as opposed to the last few training camps or fall camp seasons, is knowing that Billy Edwards 100% is your number one starter, whereas like it was always a competition between Tanner and Braden coming in for the first season, and the year before, or the year after rather, it was Tyler and Braden, when really it just kind of felt like we knew that it was going to be Tyler. So I'm just indifferent right now. I just need to see more stuff of Danny O'Neal, to be totally honest. But if anything, if I were to pick somebody, it would be him. Because what was it, Carter Smith and then Milos?
So Danny O'Neal threw for 2,181 yards, 12 touchdowns, 6 interceptions last year at San Diego State. That's fine. I think Danny O'Neal is an upgrade over Braden Locke, but I think he is still in that Braden Locke type player, 6 foot, 195. Look, let's just be honest. Either Carter Smith is the starting quarterback next year or competing for it, or he's not on the team.
Yeah.
Well, he was highly recruited, was going to go to Michigan. Michigan basically recruited over him and recruiting one of the top players in the country. But Carter Smith is a 4-star QB. He is I think you would call him a dual threat QB. And he is someone that at 6'3" will only add weight, and he is going to be the ideal QB. I know they're not running the full-on Phil Longo, but a dual threat QB who can be big and strong and make some plays. Like that's the dream scenario for the Badgers, is that this is handed off to Carter Smith and he starts for 2 years and then goes pro. That is like, I'm not saying that all happens, but like that's the ideal scenario.
Yeah. Yeah, that just based off the build too. Like he's shown flashes. Like if he drops Michigan and comes to Wisconsin, like I could totally see this guy, him being the guy. again, I need to see more on Danny O'Neil. I hope that obviously this works out too, and you have a solid. I think it still is an upgrade even from a backup standpoint. We saw that Braden Locke tried to prove himself. He had good moments, but he just wasn't consistent.
Yeah.
So what's Carter Smith going to do as in terms of it's most likely going to be the backup, or not Carter Smith, but Danny O'Neil. But no, I'm with you on this one too. Carter Smith, it feels like he's got to be the long-term guy that you invest in down the road.
All right, let's hit the Badgers Twitter portal before we get to our guest.
It's time for the Badgers Twitter portal.
All right, guys, it's time to enter the Badgers Twitter portal. And, I'll admit, want to be fully transparent. This week on the Badgers Twitter portal, it's a little self-serving.
Okay.
Because I had a hit tweet over the weekend.
Yeah, you hit gold. I was like, when I saw the numbers, I meant to text you.
I'll have to look this up here.
It's been seen 50,000 times.
I'll take that. I simply found the Wisconsin Badgers the first look at their entrance in college football 26, and I'm very passionate about proper representation for my Wisconsin Badgers in all forms of media, and I enjoy the game. So I wanted to put that out for fans, and people reacted very well. So first and foremost, I just want to play the intro for you guys, and I want your take on if this is accurate to an actual game day at Camp Randall.
It's the juices flowing like a rivalry game. And our matchup is bitter. It has barbs and shots thrown on and off the field over the years. Welcome to Camp Randall Stadium, home to the Wisconsin Badgers. As we'll see a squad from the Big Ten, the Minnesota Golden Gophers, taking on a fellow Big Ten foe, the Wisconsin Badgers. 48 Sports College Football, I'm Reese Davis, David Pollack, and Jesse Palmer with me. Guys, it's time to get it going.
I think that's pretty good.
Yeah,
I'd say that is pretty good.
For those who, actually, Riley took us off the stream as well on video. Yeah. I was dancing. I was ready to go. Yeah. I also heard that real quick sidebar that they have. What was it? The Lil Nas X Industry Baby band version of it. So I heard that at 5 a.m. this morning, and I'm like, I'm so ready for college football to be back. I'm stoked. But I loved it. I think it's Riley being the graphic design nerd he is. I'll put it out that way. Just point out
aficionado. How about we go with that?
Yeah,
I'm gonna call him a nerd.
Thank you, Jim.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
I don't attack Riley.
Is a great term.
I don't attack Riley enough. I feel like I'm too nice to him sometimes, so I just gotta
teach their own.
Hey, listen, I will go after that. But what was it? What did you say here? Overall, I like the new camera angles, lighting.
Yep.
Even looks. But can we please fix the sign?
Yes. If you did, I'm
didn't mean
not
to
sure if
steal
you
your
noticed.
thunder.
You saw the Badgers touching the sign as they came through the tunnel. So, what that is actually supposed to look like is this. I put this underneath the tweet.
Say something nice about the 14-15 Duke team.
Whoops. All right. So here is the...
We will later.
We'll get to that later. So here is the actual sign, which we saw at Camp Randall when we were at Squad Fest. It currently is gray and red, and it says playoffs, Big Ten champs, bowl champs, national champions. In the game, it says Big Ten West champions twice for some reason. They still haven't fixed that. The original sign never said that. But that is what it currently looks like. Chris Chelios, or not Chris Chelios, I should say, responded to that, and he was a little frustrated. Can't read exactly what he says on air, but he is wondering why is the sign in Ohio State colors? Did someone mess up? Or are we just being honest about conference circumstance? How do you feel about gray being on the Badgers sign they touched before they enter the field?
I think that's... I get what the thought is. That is the difference between athletes and fans. And also social media or promotions, it's just a good aesthetic. It pops. I mean, it has, you could, if you really wanted to get into it, you can make the the red more cardinal. And then but that could almost look more Ohio State-ish. I honestly saw that. I did not think Ohio State at all. It did not cross my mind to think Ohio State. So, across the board, Wisconsin fans, I'll say they need to get out of their feelings. Whether it's Brewers fans, Bucks fans, all these fans, like, just get out of your feelings. And in this case, this is the Badgers that did it. Not everything is a slight against your own team. The Badgers are not slighting, and Luke Fickell is not making an homage to Ohio State with their current setup.
I mean, it's also, do we want to get down to the point of what the play like a champion is for Notre Dame and what that scene looks like compared to the actual ones? It just feels like a reach. It feels like a stretch. I mean, I loved this. Just like any part that feels like it doesn't need to be 100%, but it feels like it's pretty damn close to 99.9% of being pretty accurate and being fun for the...
How many college teams are in this game?
136,
yeah, okay.
I believe.
I think even your high school is.
Right, right. Yeah,
you could download your high school and put this in here. I'm fine with that. I'll create the traditions.
Before we move off of this one, I had last year's game. I'm slightly more motivated to get this year's game, but for me, I was just going to kind of rotate. I've been kind of told myself when college football came out that I'm just going to buy Madden college football every other year.
Okay.
And just kind of rotate. So last year about college football, last I had won a national championship with the Wisconsin Badgers.
Yeah.
So I started as offensive coordinator for FAU.
Okay.
And then I have, so then I worked my way up. I think I won at Marshall, then at Oklahoma, then in Oregon, and then came out to Wisconsin. And
Jim comes home.
Yes. But
Love
here's
to
the
see
thing.
it.
I turned down FAU to come back to Wisconsin, mainly because I needed more points or whatever to like really be able to build. Like, I needed to win a few more. Like, it takes a long time to get everything you need to be a great recruiter and all that kind of stuff, and I'm going to need all of that at FAU. So I was kind of waiting it out. I don't know if I want to start over. I might just hop back into my franchise or my dynasty.
I do apologize to the Wisconsin fans. I actually chose Nebraska because I wanted to be a starting running back as a true freshman.
So I coached, so I don't do the player stuff.
We made it to the Natty, lost as like a 6th seed in the CFP. I'm sure this is exactly what everybody wants to know. Is like everybody totally. Yeah. It's like no one cares about your fantasy
football team. You can share on the ESPN Madison YouTube stream your stories as well.
Yes,
we will hear them.
We would love to hear them. But then I transferred to LSU. And I'm a third stringer now, so that's what I get. I should have went to Wisconsin.
Congratulations. Yeah, I know for this year, I buy the game for presentation, personally. I want everything to be accurate. I want it to feel like I'm playing for the Wisconsin Badgers or I'm at a game.
Yeah.
And this year I saw they added hot time, but Kansas is the only other school that uses hot time. So I listened. I haven't found it for Wisconsin. I saw it for Kansas after they scored a touchdown in the game. It sounds awful.
Really?
It sounds absolutely nothing like it does at Camp Randall. So disappointed about that. But we'll see. That's all I got for the Twitter portal today. And unfortunately, breaking news, I'm breaking this to you guys as well.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, John Tonje will not be available for interview today. I just received word from their PR staff. So we will look to do that another time.
All right. Well, I'll do this, and then we'll get to Ben Brust. It's Black Friday in July at Steinhoffel's, where the deals are hotter than ever. Save 10% store-wide, plus get amazing specials like a beauty sleep mattress for $399, and discover brand new arrivals, including solid wood panel beds and made-in-America dining tables. And don't forget, Steinhoffel's makes shopping easier with 18-month, 0% interest financing. Steinhoffel's, Wisconsin's #1 furniture and mattress destination. Shop in-store or at steinhoffels.com. We have Ben Brust coming up next.
It's Black Friday in July at Steinhoffel's, and the deals are hotter than ever. Save 10% store-wide, then get amazing deals like a beauty sleep mattress $399, or this outdoor sectional now $989. Plus, check out new items like this solid wood panel bed and made-in-America dining table. Make shopping easier with Steinhoffel's 18-month 0% interest financing. Steinhoffel's is Wisconsin's furniture and mattress leader. Shop in-store or at steinhoffels.com.
Say something nice about the 14-15 Duke team.
No. They were the best team. Everyone talks about the Kentucky team, but Duke was more veterans, more complete. Duke was really good that year.
And Duke won that one, and the rest is history. But I think they also know that it was two different games. So, in case you want to ever go down that avenue with me.
Good at paying refs.
There, Ben Brust with the final death knell in the Duke legacy, at least for that team. Ben Brust joining us. We're going to talk a lot about the Made 'em Believe event, which was a great time. seems like forever ago, Ben, for me, because I ended up heading out of town right after that event, so it feels like 10 Fridays ago, but it was a pretty amazing event, and you and the whole crew did an awesome job. Again, shout out to Molly Brown for how great that facility looked, and Pablo with the awesome social media afterwards, and then you and Frank and Bo and Gosser did a great job up there as well, and Decker. And I guess I'll start with this. What's with Sam, the only one that gives – is he going into a political career? He's the only one that gave a political answer about Duke there, about trying – like he's the only one that tried to be like, I guess I'll say something nice.
Yeah, I don't know if it's because he's at the tail end of his playing career. I know he's going to keep playing, but is he trying to make sure everyone loves him so he can get a gig after he's done playing?
Yeah, I don't know. That was a little bit surprising on that one there. And, we're going to start this with is this going to be kind of a dealer's choice here, Riley? So Riley's going to fire up a clip from Made 'Em Believe because we have it's going to be released today and on Thursday here, and we're excited about that. And we're going to play the preview for it at the end of the interview here, but we're just going to have you blind react, but you were there and you hosted it, so I think you'll be able to handle it to some of the social media clips that we've been playing here. So let's play the first one.
That summer, we kind of said we want to change we want to get over the hump, and it was kind of what do you mean change the culture? And I said, no, it's not. We're not disrespecting anybody. We need to live this. We talked about it every lift, every workout. We can go back to that. And so I think the second time, if you watch, wasn't like a surprise on our face. The first time, it was like, oh my God, we got there. The second time, it was like, all right, what are we doing next? We visualized it and talked about it so much to the point it wasn't a surprise, and I think that's important for our success.
Another thing, the farther you make it, unfortunately, the harder the losses get. So making it to the Final Four and losing feels a hell of a lot worse than losing the Sweet 16 like we did in years past. You go into that off season, you have another level of it means more. So I think we talked about it, but we also didn't need to talk about it because the pain was there every day.
So Ben, you can go ahead and blind react to that one there.
I mean, it perfectly shows their mindset in 2015. And I've talked about this a lot. When you go back to 2014 against Oregon in the Bradley Center, in the round of 32, we're down 12 at halftime. If we lose that game, that whole conversation that we just heard from them maybe is a little bit different in the offseason. And then once we do make it to a Final Four, and you got Sam, Josh, Frank as core guys who have been through just about everything. And then Trayvon, who, unfortunately got hurt. But he had young players as well on 2014 that were huge contributors in 2015. So to get that experience of going to the Final Four, knowing what that feeling was like and not it being the first time with everyone they had back, I mean, the players were the leaders. Bo had to do, and Jim, and anyone who watches back, you'll hear them talk about how Bo maybe had to do the least he ever had to do as a coach. And that was some of his best coaching by understanding what he had in the room. The players led. The players showed up every day and competed because they knew what their goal was. They didn't need to talk about it. They needed to show what they were about, and they showed what they were about all year.
Riley, are we ready to unveil what's behind door number 2?
So Josh and his lovely wife Al, and Mark Van Wettering, who is now the director of basketball operations here at Wisconsin, is a huge part of the program. Yeah,
he's the money man.
And he covered so many bases for us when we were at school, and he was a roommate of me and Zach Showalter, and Mark did their homework. And so we always wanted to make his life as tough as possible. He had come from working for Coach, which we know is not that easy. And then we'd come home, and one day me and Josh said, what should we do to Mark? And it was in the middle of winter, and so we were like, let's take apart his bed. So we took his bed apart, dismantled his headboard and stuff, and we rebuilt it on the balcony when 0 degrees, and so he comes home, and he didn't even know.
And we left.
And we left. So that's what it was like.
I know, Ben, you weren't a part of that, but it's like I think you were even pointing out to the guys, it's like this is now the chief of staff of Wisconsin men's basketball and how vicious Sam and the guys were to him. Just the relationships there. I mean, I think it just shows kind of like how close everybody was, but how it was just like, I don't want to say no boundaries, but just like having fun and just letting loose and just going for it and enjoying themselves.
That's the thing is at the time, Mark was a manager, and Mark was such a baby. Like if he was taking a nap and the apartment was 72 degrees, he was freezing. And like that's like a normal temperature. So you like jack it up to 80 and take naps. And so like there's more to it, right? In that story, it's like, oh, we took apart Mark's bed. Well, Mark brought some of that upon himself with how big of a baby he was as a roommate. And like, yeah, that's a perfect example. There's 40 more stories of those. I think that one just made the cut of what they felt comfortable sharing to the audience and the live audience, because I was on the golf course with everyone before the event, and I was taking as many mental notes as possible. And unfortunately, I was like, this is great. This is great. I don't think we can share. I don't think we can share. That one. Yeah, share that one. Do that one. That one doesn't cross the line unless you guys taped him to the bed and made him sleep outside.
Right. But I do think, and obviously there's more stories out there, but it speaks to, obviously, top to bottom, when you do that sort of stuff and people can have fun with it, it means there's obviously an underlying respect and friendship and care. I just feel like it's worth pointing that out, that like that went okay and you're all laughing at it because you guys were that tight.
Yeah,
including Mark.
And like Mark lived with Josh like post college, like at his house before he had children. Like everyone was so close knit, and then again, the idea of what happened in 2014 and then to 15, it was like nobody changed. They just did a little bit more of everything, had a little bit more fun, brought the younger freshmen into the group just a little bit more, right? Everything was just taken up one notch. And I think the most successful teams in anything, in work, in life, in relationships, like when you can get everyone who's on your team, no matter what role they play, if they're a small role or a huge role, if everyone feels a part of it, like that's my huge takeaway is when you look at that 2015 team, from the scout team to Ethan Happ redshirting, going at Frank Kaminsky every single day, getting his ass kicked by the National Player of the Year, all that mattered. And everything they did, like they had a purpose to what they were doing, and that was to get to where they got. And unfortunately, we played the start of this show with the, or maybe we didn't, if there was an audio issue, but taking shots at Duke, like
we did.
They got to Duke for a reason. Like they were really, really good, and they never crumbled, unfortunately, until that moment that they got a little ahead of themselves, and just for some reason you hear, I don't know if you're gonna have Frank, you probably should, because he talks about how he could go back if he could. He would trade a lot of the success that he's had to get that Duke game back.
Ben, how about you expand a little bit more on what you were talking about with Frank? And I'm guessing that's a lot of the players. We're talking about how if you have that title, it's something that never can be taken away. And same with, I think, Badger fans, especially now in today's day and age with the portal. And Greg Gar's doing a great job, but for a team like Wisconsin to be right there, and Gosser said it earlier, the losses hurt more the further along you go, to be that close, to be minutes away from being able to bring home a title for Wisconsin Badger basketball. And more, I think each year it just feels more and more impossible to pull off. And that's not a knock on anything happening now, but each passing year it feels more and more important that, man, it would have been great for the players and for the fans to get that one title.
Yeah, I think it was really like cool at the end of the show to hear from Frank. I mean, Frank was the National Player of the Year. Frank was the guy that they ran the entire offense through. They could throw the ball to him. He'd score. He'd pass. It'd lead to a hockey assist for him. Like he was everything, right? And everyone else was a major piece. But without Frank, you're not going as far as they got. And so when I think about Frank at the end of that show, I think about him talking about, I had asked him, like, so would you trade, like, you played in the NBA Finals against the Bucks at Fiserv Forum in 2021. And, like, without hesitation, he's like, yeah, I'd love to go back, because what that formative years of all of our lives meant, and especially in 2015, how close they were to doing something, like, so it was already special, but it would have been even tenfold of what people feel about this team if they were able to get it done. And he feels that. And I think all of us, and especially in 2015, feel as if, like, how did one of those years, and especially 2015 after they knocked off Kentucky, how did one of those teams still not, like, it doesn't feel real that neither team won a national championship. And that's the way life goes. But it's it's real to feel those things and think back. I mean, we all do. If you're a competitor and you were out there, you remember it, and it doesn't leave you. It doesn't mean you're going to sulk the rest of your life, but it is a memory that you're going to think back and do the what if, and how do you use that now in life to make sure you don't miss out on opportunities when they're in front of you. I think like he just encapsulated it all perfectly.
Talking with Ben Brust here. Also, you could hear him, Kyle Brust and Nortman as well, across ESPN Wisconsin, joining us here on the Jump Around. Ben, the last question for me about Made 'em Believe and just the excitement, too, as getting this out there. One of the things that stuck out to me was having you have the Big Cat clip at the start, but it also had Jim Nantz coming in. And a quote from Jim Nantz that stuck out with me was that this program, both years, you guys did it the right way. You guys did it the right way. You had support from the entire country. When you step back and think about that, 10 years reflecting on all those memories, to get such an endorsement like that and beyond, what does that mean to you?
I think the coolest part was I was on my bachelor party, and I was like, I really need to get this Jim Nantz video put together. And I texted him, and I was like, hey, we got this going on. I'll send you a script if you're interested. And then 2 hours later, on the back nine, I got a video from Jim Nantz. And so no script, that was purely from him. And it carries a lot of weight because we all talk on this show about how the landscape has changed and how difficult it is to retain players. That was basketball at its purest form of what college basketball was, right? And I'm not going to knock how things change, because you got to change with the times, you got to evolve. But for what it was back then, there were still people getting paid, and there was allegations of coaches paying players and getting suspended. But from a paying standpoint, from the way the guys carried themselves on and off the court to the production on the court, it was all there. And so to hear the voice of the Final Four for so long talk about those two teams and the guys and spending time with him in before games, talking with that, like Jim invited all of us to the PGA Championship at Whistling Straits, and like I met him at the Masters, and you can't have your phone in there, and he took a picture for me and texted it to me, like, and I think it's because of how those teams were such great representations of Wisconsin culture, the university, who they were as people. Those are the things that are also really cool when you get outside talking about the loss against Duke. It's the relationships that you make, and it's the impact that you were able to make on high-end broadcasters, to anyone that was in the event, to anyone who watches back the event. It is well worth your time.
Transitioning to this year's team, I just have one question for you on it right now. Obviously, it's early. They're kind of just doing some summer practices right now, but of the transfer players coming in, whether that's Nick Boyd or Andrew Rohde or who else we got there, Elijah Gray and Austin Rapp, which one do you think will have the biggest impact for the Badgers this season?
It's Boyd, hands down. It's absolutely Boyd, hands down. I thought what they were lacking last year was a true point guard to control the game. And when I say the control of the game, I don't mean like slow it down like old Badger teams did, but like really just picking and choosing, when there are some times to run a different set. Like I felt like at times it did get a little frantic, and I think that's part of it. You want to play faster. There's going to be sometimes some growing pains of learning and changing a little. I don't want to say the whole system. It's just a faster paced way of playing Wisconsin basketball with some more sets in there. And I think it's just someone that you can rely on, like at times it was like, all right, if Tanjay's not going off, or if Blackwell's having an up and down game, like where do you go? And I think you need that rock. And I think he'll be the rock for this team with the capability of producing at a high level as well. So when you have such a tenured NCAA basketball player coming to a program where, everyone's itching for that second weekend in a Sweet 16, he's the type of guy I want on my team. And so I'm most looking forward to his contributions.
Final Four Owl there. So, yeah, he's done it.
He was
on that team.
I didn't want to say his name because I knew you would drop in your FSU fandom
I will,
or connections.
But to add to it, and then probably can ask a question here, but we had Ken Levico, the play-by-play voice for the Owls on there, who's close to Nick Boyd. He wrote the letter recommendation for the grad school he went to at San Diego State. but he said that like Nick Boyd, just from the outside, is a guy that any college basketball team needs. So that dog mentality. He's obviously played with San Diego State in a tournament, played with FAU in a tournament, made the tournament both years at FAU, made the tournament with San Diego State. So like he is a guy that knows how to go to the tournament and play in the tournament and make plays throughout and won't be afraid of the Big Ten. So adding someone like that, it's not going to be a Blackwell type impact, but just people around that FAU program said that he was one of the leaders even when he was, I think, only a sophomore on that team. He was a guy that was a leader. So he's not going to be Captain America Josh Gosser, but the way people talk about him at other schools, it's that type of leader that can run a team and keep everyone kind of focused on the main thing.
It's exactly what I thought was lacking at times. They were still obviously very, very good, and I don't want to say a bad decision because I liked that he attacked the rim. He didn't just, everyone's saying, you could have tried to steal the game against BYU for taking a three. You got the ball in your best player's hands.
Yep.
Came to a 2-foot jump stop. You either had to go to the rim, try and get fouled, take a step back, and create a play. And at that moment, he didn't make the right decision in that moment where he came to 2 feet on the baseline, kind of in no man's land. But you had to just rely on Tanjay that game. Tournament experience is invaluable, especially with all the changing of players and teams. Someone might come from a mid-major that scored a lot of points but has never been in that moment. But Boyd's been in the moment. And so if you can bring that and there's a sense of calmness when it's a point guard, that's going to be huge.
Ben, last question for me. I said it actually on last week's episode, I believe, of the Jump Around, that I almost feel like I'm more excited about this upcoming basketball team. No knock on last year's team. It's just we didn't know the run that team was going to go on last season. We didn't know that John Tanjay was going to explode and be this top-tier player and really be, as you said, the rock or one of the main guys. It was fun to watch last season's, but I almost feel like that coming kind of off that high from this past season and just seeing the talent that Greg Gard has recruited from the transfer portal and just having John Blackwell come back and Nolan Winter coming back along with those transfer guys. Do you share that sentiment? Do you feel a little more excited coming into this season compared to the last?
I think yes. I think I'm excited, but what my excitement is to see how you can take. It's all about progression, right? We've talked a lot about going from the 2014 Final Four to the 2015 Final Four. It's can you take the success that you had with a good team? You can't call them great because of not being able to get farther enough in the tournament or to win a Big Ten title. It was a good team, but can they be great taking what is a blueprint of success, of changing how they played offense, how they brought in transfers that have played well and been able to further their career. Think about the Virginia transfer, seeing statistics of what he was in that offense at a slow pace, shooting 40% in conference play. What can he do with more rhythm? What I mean? With bringing Nolan Winter back, who when he was in double figures, the team always thrived. And that's going to so you have a combination of transfers and then sort of that old Badger mindset of can this guy take that old sophomore to junior big jump, not the freshman to sophomore jump, but that big jump that you used to see amongst Badger players that were with the program for a long time. Blackwell, obviously the same thing. So you have two guys that you want to see take that big jump internally and then fit those external pieces. So it's a fun puzzle for Coach Gard to figure out, which leads to excitement if they can parlay the success of what they did last year.
Yeah, Gard has now earned the right and reputation of you're past even being worried about who's coming in or let's wait and see. It's we're going to assume it's going to work. Last thing I had for you, and I thought of it as we were talking here, but the NBA draft. So you're probably maybe you can answer this for me. They kept on talking about Con Knippel, the kid from Wisconsin who went to Duke, playing on 2 feet. I don't understand what the hell that really means. Obviously, everyone plays basketball on 2 feet. Is there a way you could put that in layman's term? Because I Googled it too, and every scouting report and everything I listened to, or Russillo, and everyone's like, oh, I love that he plays off 2 feet. And I can make a guess at what it means, but obviously you played ball at an incredibly high level. What does playing off 2 feet mean?
I still say it in Con Knippel's dad's men's league. I said it last week in our men's league game because our team is short. So this would be great for layman's terms because I'm using it in a men's league, right?
Yeah.
So couple of our guys would get to the rim against like taller guys, and they would leave their feet. They would try and go for a layup with too much traffic. And if you play off 2 feet, that means you're getting in the lane. And if you play off 2 feet, when you jump for a layup, not coming off 2 feet, you're stuck. You're either going to make it, the shot's going to get blocked, or you're going to have to try and make a late decision that might be a cross-court pass that leads to a turnover. If you get in the lane, you get off 2 feet, what can you do now? You have 2 feet, you got the ball. You can shot fake. You can pass fake. You can shot fake again. You can shot fake again. Get the guy in the air, get fouled, go to the free throw line. So it literally is more so, I'd say, playing with composure, understanding, where you're at in the floor. If you got on the right wing and you drive towards the middle, if you have that extra step, you gather and go in and take the layup. But if you think the defender might have an advantage, come to 2 feet. Then you can pivot, turn around, see if you have a jump shot, right? Like, it's just playing within the fundamentals of what the defense is giving you.
See, I hear that is like, that's how I
X's
play.
and O's with Ben Brust.
I refuse to jump anymore because I refuse to have an injury like a blown Achilles or a knee injury. So if I'm in the lane, anyone's near me, I'm not jumping. So I guess I play off 2 feet too because that's my new rule. I'm not risking any lower body injury, so I stay on my feet when I'm playing basketball unless it's wide open.
You playing off 2 feet, you might be stuck in cement. You might not be able to.
Yes, no, that's the other part of it. But luckily, I play against a bunch of old guys, so we're all stuck in cement. It's like watching people try to run through cement if you came out to watch our league at 5 a.m.
I do think, for the record, that it is interesting, right? Because I actually was texting with Josh Gosser about this. They showed a highlight of Khan playing off 2 feet, and it was, I was thinking like, all right, he shot faked, he got him in the air. What does that look like when it's a Miles Turner or, one of those really big 7-foot bigs at 6'6"? Is he able to explode and make those plays off of 2 feet? But he can shoot the crap out of the ball, so I think he's going to figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, he's the poster child for, obviously his dad's coaching in college ball because he went so high, large part because he can score without the ball, playing like really basketball fundamentals. All the things that most of these guys drafted need to have the ball in their hands to be the star. Khan does not. Like, he can just get his points. Yeah, and he'll get his points, and he'll help the offense, and he'll do things on the fly. Like, they were talking about at Duke with things that he would do on the fly that weren't necessarily even called. Like, those are like, that's the difference between college and NBA. Is in the NBA you see that on the fly and you just make a quick change and you know that the other player will recognize it. In college that's just harder to do, but Khan was doing it at Duke with Cooper, and that's why Duke was so dang good too.
I mean, I remember even seeing
his is 10 years beyond his age.
Yeah,
He showed flashes. I remember watching him at the state game. What was it? His senior season at Wisconsin Lutheran, and it was just like we knew the player that he was going to be his senior year of high school, and yet it was like he didn't need to be the guy that like scored 30 points or whatever. I think he actually had a modest like 15, if anything. He didn't even. I don't even think he broke 20 points in the state championship game, and they blew him up by like almost like 30 or 40 or something like that.
Yeah, I mean he's a hell of a player. But we'll tie it. Hopefully we'll get a guy like that at Wisconsin again sometime. Ben, we're gonna play the trailer for your the full on video that'll be coming out later today on Thursday here. So Ben, thanks for hopping on, and we're gonna get to the trailer.
All right, thanks, boys.
What a year. Made me proud to be a Badger.
You guys played the game the way the game is supposed to be played.
We knew we were witnessing history. So to kick it off tonight,
Josh Gosser, Sam Decker, Frank the Tank Kaminsky. This group did something special. Special enough that we're able to fill this room with all of you.
We just said when we become like the upperclassmen, like we're gonna make sure that everyone feels like comfortable.
When you have that trust, it's amazing. And when the guys from the top down all get along, it's like no one falls out of line.
We wanted to hang out all the time, 24/7.
They absolutely made them believe.